Win for Dad and Debbie Healy's biggest ever victory. They were the highlights of racing in 2 states today. Gauchi was in spectacular form at Sandown, bringing off a plunge on daytime and booting home 2 more winners for Colin Hayes. Gauchi's ride on Mr Jazz was one of his very best. He pulled the whip on the favourite 1,600 metres from home, and even when Chelaware headed him off in the straight, the super jockey refused to give in.
Chelaware's raced up to Mr Jazz and Dietheus and taken the lead. Then Ask Again, and Chelaware's about a long neck in front now, a half a length to Mr Jazz and Dietheus. Chelaware in front, Mr Jazz coming again on the line. Oh gee, it's close. Chelaware and Mr Jazz with...
After the race, Colin Hayes was quick to praise Gauchi's magnificent ride on Mr Jazz.
Without him, I doubt if he could have won, because he showed initiative and strength, and we wanted the horse to start winning. That's why we dropped him back in class to get his confidence.
And Mr Jazz's next run will be in the Labour Day Handicap, the race he won 2 years ago, before finishing 3rd to Kiwi in the Melbourne Cup. Earlier in the day, 15-year-old Therese Payne won the first leg of the Daily Double.
Man about a head in front now, a neck in front. Payne goes for the whip, drew a half to Raptus, has got it beaten, and Miners Man's got a break through at long last, 3/4 to Raptus.
And whilst Therese has been riding particularly well, that's the first time she's booted home a winner for her trainer, Dad, Pat Payne, in the city. Miners Man winning in the trifecta 115.45. And it was a day out for the girls because the New Zealand jockey Debbie Healy won the richest race of her career, the $100,000 Winfield Cup at Newcastle. Healy, who 2 years ago took out the Werribee Cup on Deb's mate, today brilliantly rode Caulfield Cup hope Mr Mako to an all-the-way win.
Around the turn in this year's Winfield Gold Cup, on stage tackling Mr Mako. Down the outside was Hay. Further out the Weona Devil, Young Charger and Reckless Tradition, and Sprightly Native weaving between runners, running home. Mr Mako joined in front by on stage. Reckless Tradition is finishing well down the outside. Hay battling on. Mr Mako in front. It's a nectar on stage on the outside. Reckless Tradition. Mr Mako in front near the line. They reach the line. Mr Mako. Mr Mako a half head on the line to on stage, and a close third. Reckless Tradition, Sprightly Native, and then came Hay.
Yes, 65,000 Australian dollars to the winner, and that's a lot of money in New Zealand terms at the moment. They're the dividends on the Winfield Cup at Sandown: 7, double 1 and 7, 356.30. That's the quaddie. The Daily Double 1 and 12, 85.65. In the extra 1 and 12, same numbers, $46.30. Well, England and Middlesex spin twins John Embry and Phil Edmonds have continued on with their match-winning form. Fresh from helping England regain the Ashes, the pair joined Mike Gatting's Middlesex lineup to crush the opposition in the county championship. Warwickshire was thrashed by an innings and 74 runs as Middlesex notched up their 5th win in 10 years.
Middlesex had to bowl out Warwickshire to win the title, but early on Lloyd was playing Daniel with ease. But within the hour, Gatting turned to spin, a decision that turned the game. Edmonds sneaking one past bemused Dyer. That was all the encouragement the spinners needed. Embury had Kalicharan completely stumped. And when Lloyd had made 28, his resistance crumbled, Radley taking the bat and pad catch off Edmonds. By the time Gladstone Small holed out to a thankful Gatting, Warwickshire had slumped to 146 for 8. The spinner's job done, Daniel returned to rip out the last remaining batsman, first Smith, and soon afterwards Gifford. So for Middlesex, £20,000 and their 3rd county championship title in 6 years. But this one was achieved with many of their top players on test duty. A real team effort, said Gatting, worthy of at least a small celebration.
Well, I've got to take it fairly sensibly because we've got to drive back, but we shall have a glass or two and hope there are a lot of friendly policemen on the way home.
I'm sure they're going to celebrate, Joe.
Thank you very much, Bruce. Next...
At Caulfield on Cup Day, following a successful comeback to the racetrack today. New Atlantis galloped between races at Balaclava in South Australia, and jockey Des Coleman was delighted with the horse's progress since it resumed training after a leg injury.
New Atlantis notched up an impressive unbeaten record as a 2-year-old and was assured of a top season this year until he injured his leg after Sydney's Golden Slipper earlier this year. Today's demonstration was the start of his spring campaign and impressed the Balaclava crowd with his agility and style. Jockey Des Coleman rates the Gawler-trained horse as a sure chance in the forthcoming season.
He's running at Morphettville on the 5th or 6th, I'm not quite sure, in that Brill Cream event, which is Australia-wide, and if he qualifies for the final, he'll go to Caulfield, which is run Caulfield Cup Day. Then after that, he goes into the Gadsden Stakes, which is a straight 1,200-metre race at Flemington on Derby Day.
So we can see him being a force this season?
He's a very, very good horse. With a bit of luck, he'll be he'd take a ton of beating in anything.
New Atlantis was the hottest 2-year-old around, and now as a 3-year-old and some thickening up, the top galloper no doubt will repeat past performances similar to this year's Black Opal race in Canberra. His next public appearance will be another demonstration gallop next week at Gawler.
Racing locally today was at Sandown, where Darren Gauchi increased his lead in the Jockeys Premiership by booting home a treble. The TAB double today, 1 and 12, paid $8 or $85.65, and the extra double, same combination, 1 and 12, $46.30. The quad roller, 7, 1, 1 and 7, $356.30. And for tonight, Mel, that's all from the sports desk.
Thank you, Peter.